I sampled More Bounce, Zap. And first of all, I'll tell you how Going Back to Cali was born. At the time, a guy from the West Coast was managing me, my boy Carlos. So, he knows all about L.A. So, and first of all, when I made the track, it wasn't made for Biggie. I just made the track. When Life After Death album came around, when it came time to submit the tracks, I just submitted it. And Puffy, he was like, cool, yo, yes. Like he loved it as soon as he heard it. So people will get it twisted. They don't know, but Going Back to Cali, that track, it wasn't made for Biggie. It's something that was already made, and I came and I offered it to him. But anyway, the guy from the West Coast that was managing me, we had a conversation one day, and I was talking with him. I just kind of asked him, I said, yo, Los, man. I said, back in the day, when people would have house parties or block parties, and I said, there's always that one classic record that you throw on, and everybody, like, goes crazy to it, and depending on where you're from, like, that's the anthem. Like, in New York, in the 70s, at the block parties and the street jams, if you throw on MFSB's Love Is the Message, whoa, forget about it. That's like a New York block party, New York anthem, period. So I explained that to him, and I said, yo, Los, man, I said, back in the day, right, in L.A., like I just said about Love Is the Message, I asked him, I said, what would be that record in? What was that record in L.A.? Quickly, instantly, without even thinking about it, he told me, he said, More Bounce, man, you crazy? He said, yo, that's that L.A. shit. So,
bombfirst.com.
I left. I walked away from him just really, really thinking about it. And I'm saying to myself, like, More Bounce? I'm like, I'm having conversations with myself now. I'm like, but wait a minute. More Bounce has been used, like, seemed like 1,000 times. Like, what would you do with that? In other words, how much more special would you be coming behind people that's already sampled it, like, 85 times?
Right.
So, my personal objective and goal was, I'm gonna sample it. I always wanted to sample the record anyway, but so many people had raped it till I just stayed away from it. But then when he told me that, I said, you know what? It would be nice if you try your hand at it. And what you do to it, set yourself apart from anybody that's ever sampled that song. And just really, like, go all out. And sure enough, the way I chopped the beat up, basically the way I chopped the beat up and the way I had it mapped out on the board, where I was actually able to play with it. There's some people who came to me back then and asked me, they said, yo, what did you have, like the masters to More Bounce or something like that? And I was like, nah. I said, it's just like a serious chop job. And they was like, damn, man. They said, you got it like where you could actually sound like you was separating tracks on the master or something. I said, nah, it's just a really good chop job. And the indication that I did a real good job on it is back then, what's the rapper's name was Rufus Black. My boy Rufus Black, is a rapper. He personally knew Roger Troutman.
bombfirst.com.
He was close with him. So I was like, wow, you know him? I said, you think I could get a chance to talk with him on the phone one day? Just to talk with him. And he was like, yeah. He said, I'll call and on the three-way when I could get a hold of him, and So he patched Roger Troutman in, and we're talking, and we're talking about totally different other than going back to college, just talking about all kind of other stuff. And he just came out of nowhere and he said, "You the Easy Mo B that sampled my record?" And I said, yeah, for Biggie's Going Back to Cali. And he said, "Man, let me tell you." He said, "A lot of people use that record." He said, "But I think you used it the best." I mean, like, that was the biggest endorsement, as far as I'm concerned, that I could ever receive. You know?
Right.
Like, people, usually artists, they don't like when you sample their stuff, but he just kind of endorsed it personally, and that was it for me. It just made me feel real, real good. But getting back on track of your original question, yeah, Going Back to Cali fits in the same category as West Coast G-Funk, totally different from anything else that I was doing at the time. And things like that encouraged me also too to don't get stuck in a certain mold. Like in other words, you love music. Don't be afraid to experiment and branch out and try new things. Because if you go from like Going Back to Cali to a song like Give Me the Loot, if you sat back and listened to these songs one after the other, you would not think the same person did those tracks.
Bombfirst.com.
And a producer should be able to do anything. He should be able to bend, twist, and stretch himself into different positions to do whatever is necessary.